Sports stars moving to MMA has been big news in recent months, with Greg Hardy making his UFC debut and former NBA star Royce White turning his attention to the sport. Everyone from gymnasts to racing drivers have tried their hand in the Octagon, and in today's episode we'll look at some of the biggest examples. Welcome to INC, and these are the sports stars who tried MMA. Jose Canseco is one of baseball's most infamous stars. Over a 16-year career, Canseco broke many of the sport's all-time records, scoring 462 home runs and was once the all-time leader in home runs amongst Latino players. Despite his achievements, Canseco's career ended in scandal when he admitted to steroid use in a 2005 autobiography and claiming up to 85% of Major League players used performance enhancers.
Yeah, everybody's on steroids, bro.
For real?
Everybody for real.
Just us two.
Claiming to hold belts in karate and taekwondo, Canseco tried his hand at MMA, taking on 7'2" Hongman Choi at Dream 9 in 2009. Canseco landed the first blow with an overhand right in the first 10 seconds, before spending the rest of the match running away from his opponent. Aside from a few kicks, and I use that term loosely, Canseco was outclassed against the Korean, Choi ending the match just over a minute into the first round. Canseco has also tried his hand at celebrity boxing, facing child star Danny Bonaduce and former NFL football player Vaisika Hamer, losing by first round knockout. Adam Holyoak was a staple of English cricket throughout the mid-90s.
I'm sure he's out.
The Australian-born all-rounder is one of the most successful domestic captains of all time, winning 9 trophies with Surrey and earning 35 international caps between 1996 and 1999. Inspired by a childhood love of boxing, Holyoak made his MMA debut against Joel Miller for the Days of Glory promotion in 2012. Holyoak got off to a rough start after Miller scored a takedown before landing a series of heavy strikes that left the Queensland native on the back foot. Despite controlling the third, Holyoak's conditioning left him unable to finish his opponent. The fight declared a majority draw, with one judge scoring the fight for the all-rounder. Holyoak returned to the sport 4 months later against journeyman boxer Warren Tressida. The fight was contested with modified rules limiting the amount of ground fighting, but it didn't stop Holyoak scoring a knockout win late in the first. Holyoak hasn't fought since the match and remains the only cricketer in MMA history. Polish MMA has always had an air of the surreal, and no fighter showcased this better than Marius Podolski. Prior to competing in the sport, Podolski was one of the biggest names in strongman contests, winning a record 5 World's Strongest Man titles and becoming a national celebrity in the process. After finishing second in 2009, Podolski announced his intention to compete in MMA, signing a multi-fight deal with the Polish promotion KSW. Podolski never faced the strongest competition, alternating between squash matches and freak show fights with other gimmick heavyweights, including wins over James Thompson, Bob Sapp and 400-pound boxer Butterbean. Despite this, Podolski was praised for his high level of commitment to the sport, shedding most of his distinctive muscle and developing a high level of striking despite his limited experience. Podolski's most high-profile win came against former UFC fighter Hollis Gracie. The Gracies prided themselves on using technique to overcome brute strength. Pudge quickly put paid to that.
Marius Podolski! Mistrzem knockoutu! Marius Podolski!
Podolski currently holds a 12-7 record, losing his last match to Simon Kolecki at KSW 47. The Earnhardt family is one of the most famous names in NASCAR history, but 4th-generation star Geoffrey may be making his name in very different waters. Geoffrey has been a staple of the NASCAR Cup Series since 2015, often driving for under-financed teams with a best finish of 11th at the July Daytona race in 2018. Earnhardt admitted to using MMA training as a means of maintaining his fitness, and in 2012 made his amateur debut at Fight Lab 25 in Charlotte. For someone competing in an adrenaline sport, Earnhardt took a cautious approach to the fight, scoring a series of early takedowns and content to smother his opponent Chris Faison for the remainder of the match. Earnhardt won the fight by unanimous decision, and during his post-fight interview was quick to thank his coaching staff for his performance. At least, I think he did.
I can't thank the guys at Renegade Fighting System enough. My roommates Nick and Tyler, they've done a great job training me, and everyone else that came out to support me.
Earnhardt wasn't the only NASCAR connection to MMA, with Bellator agreeing to hold regional events during selected cup races. And with NASCAR's history of post-race punch-ups, the move may be inspired.
John West Townley and Spencer Gallagher down there in turn 1. And there's points for a takedown.
The most notable sportsman turned fighter in recent years is UFC featherweight Alex Volkanovski. For 3 years, Volkanovski had been a major star in Australian rugby, playing as a front rower for the Warilla Gorillas and guiding them to the first premiership title in 14 years. In 2012, Volkanovski switched his attention to MMA, with his high-pressure wrestling and knockout power making him one of Australia's most exciting prospects and leading him to an UFC call-up on the back of a 10-fight winning streak. Volkanovski's rise up the rankings coincided with a fall in weight, from 205 pounds in his rugby days to his current weight of 145. In 2018, Volkanovski scored the biggest win of his career, beating former UFC title challenger Chaz Mendes in a fight of the night performance at UFC 232.
Huge wow!
Volkanovski is set to face Jose Aldo at UFC 237 and currently holds a record of 19 wins and a single loss. And now time for a few honourable mentions. UFC strawweight Courtney Casey was an NCAA soccer player and has taken some of those habits with her to the Octagon.
I can't tell it. Clearly it looks like it misses the forehead.
Hayley Cowan showed her gymnast skills in her recent knockout win over Jessica Sotak. Big country Roy Nelson tried to pick a fight with NASCAR's Denny Hamlin.
Dirty dog! A dirty veteran!
This is the INC, and thank you for watching.